Chaya would be willpower, sudden urges that people have they can't explain, but it's not the essence of the soul. And then you have Yechida. So because Hasidus is the fifth level, the essence, the quintessence of our neshama, it therefore connects very well with Yom Kippur. Sukkot is called Zman Simchaseinu. And Hasidus talks a lot about how we should be b'simcha, the reasons why we should be b'simcha. Because we have Chelek Elokah Mimal, we have a piece of God within us. We are creatures not of this world, all of us, every one of us. We are divine creations. And knowing that brings a person to joy. So that's the connection. Also, that the sukkah is like a chuppah, a wedding canopy. And Yitzhak Kislev is here. Purpose of Yitzhak Kislev was to bring the world to the state where Hashem's marriage to the Jewish people will take place. When Mashiach comes, that's when the marriage between God and us is consummated. That's the of Simcha. The Simcha Torah connection? It's the grandchild of the Alter Rebbe, the third Lubavitcher Rebbe. When he was 10 years old, he celebrated the first anniversary of the Alter Rebbe's liberation. He was a 10-year-old kid. And he decided, come on, it's Simchas Torah tonight. Let's all make hakafot with Batanya. So instead of a Sefer Torah, he went around and started saying, the first hakafah and the second hakafah. He made the whole place was, Simchas Torah atmosphere. When the Alter Rebbe found out about it, he said, this gave me a tremendous amount of nachas ruach. You're going to say Chassidus, you're going to become a very, very, very big person. Of course, there was a very close connection between the Alter Rebbe and Tzemach Tzedek, being that the Tzemach Tzedek's mother, the Alter Rebbe's daughter, she gave her life away for the Alter Rebbe. It's interesting how the three holidays, Purim, Hanukkah, and Yitzhak Kislev, are connected with women. Esther Hamalka, she's the hero of the whole, she did it. And Yehudis, started with Yehudis, how she killed the Greek general, and that started the downfall of the Syrian army. Another woman, and then of course the Alter Rebbe's daughter gave her life away. She knew that the Alter Rebbe's life was in danger, and she was a whole long, the story, Devorah Leah, and she gave her life away. She passed away the day after Rosh Hashanah, giving her father the ability to spread Chassidus. It was a terrible prosecution, which we're going to learn about in the Sicha here, and she knew that she has to save her father, and she saved her father with her own life. She had a baby. Her baby was a Tzemach Tzedek, the third Lubavitcher Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe took care of him like a father. Very close connection. Hanukkah, how was Yitzhak Kislev and Hanukkah connected? Besides the fact that they're both in the same month, they're very close to each other, but how? What's the connection? Anyone know? Huh? Miracles is too general. What's the purpose of the Hanukkah menorah? Outside. Where do you light the candles? Supposedly either by the window or by the door closest to the outside, officially. Now we don't do it because of weather conditions or dangers. But normally it's supposed to be on the outside of your home to illuminate the darkness. And what is Hasidus all about? Yafutza ma'nesecha chutza.
Wow.
Yesh od dimyon, shemen, oil. Oil is a metaphor for Hasidus. Oil is the Hanukkah. The whole miracle happened with the oil. Little pot shemen, little pintle yid that's left. It can't last me. It's too abstract. I don't have much Judaism. I have just that little drop of oil. And yet it lasted for a whole week. A whole week represents a whole lifetime. Because the week's only 7 days a week. So if you incorporate a year with a week, you're actually incorporating a whole lifetime. Like a little oil, which is the core of our neshama, the yechida of our neshama, might be small and tiny and in the background. But when you light it, it spreads. Why is oil a metaphor for Hasidus? Because oil rises above all liquids, as I mentioned, and penetrates through solids. It rises, but it penetrates. It stands aloof, stands above, seemingly inaccessible, hard to understand. You feel like there's something more than what you're telling me, but yet it affects your whole day, your everyday life. It affects your solids, your substance, things that you do in your life on a daily basis are affected in a very positive way through the teachings of Hasidus. That was the purpose of Hasidus. So there you have Hanukkah. Purim, we know that there was a whole story of having the story of Yitzhak Kislev read in a Megillah form, meaning told over like you read the story of a Megillah. But it didn't come out that way. There was a reason for it. However, similar to Purim, because both the Purim miracle and Yitzhak Kislev miracle happened through natural means. There was no splitting of the Red Sea. It was a nest through Derech HaTeva. And where the people that put the Alter Rebbe into prison were the ones that realized he doesn't belong there. Many stories. That's Purim. And of course, Matan Torah. Because Kislev was called the Matan Torah, Shavuos, the Matan Torah of Pnimis Torah. Pesach, there is a long story about Pesach. We know the three rabbinical holidays, Purim, Hanukkah, are connected. Purim is the rabbinical counterpart for Shavuos. I'm not going to get into the reasons. And Hanukkah and Sukkot are connected. Both have 8 days. But what about Pesach? Where's Pesach's rabbinical counterpart? Yitzhak Kislev. This Kislev gives us the power to go out of our boundaries, to go out of our Mitzrayim, out of our limitations. Knowing we have a soul that is infinite, we don't feel limited anymore. Well, the limitations are only when we don't believe who we are. We don't think that we're such little people, and we're just humans, and we're only human, and we make mistakes. But we don't realize there's a part of us that is the real us. So Chassidus tells you how small you are, but how great you can become. Tanya is a little safer, pretty tiny. But someone said about the Alter Rebbe, look, he put such a great God in such a small book. I want to ask you a question. Why was the Tanya called Tanya? What does Tanya actually mean? I know it's a name of a woman, but that's not. What does the word Tanya actually mean? A teaching in a brisa. Does that seem to capture the whole Tanya? Why would you name it Tanya by the first word, which has nothing to do with the Sefer? It tells me nothing about the Sefer. Call it Chassidus, find a name. Call it Yechida, call it Chassidus, call it pearl, gems, diamonds, but Tanya? So actually the word Tanya, you rearrange the letters, spells Eitan. Eitan is a boy's name, but Eitan, not a Hebrew, right? Eitan. What does Eitan actually mean? Aleph Yud Taf Nun means power, strength. Powerful, hard, you can't break it, unbreakable, and old, ancient. Always was here. That's the part of your neshama. The neshama is old, as old as God. Part of Hashem. So it's ancient. It's powerful, like God, it can break through all barriers, and you can't break it. The Eitan, Tanya, the same letters. Also, if you know Hebrew,
Yeah.
I think so. But how do you use, when you want to use a prefix and say the future? Haya means to be. How do you say, I will be? What letter do you add? Aleph. How about when you want to say, you will be? Tough. How about when you want to say, he will be? Yud. No. Aleph. Right. Tough, Nun, Yud. And what was missing? We will be Nun. Tanya. The 4 letters, Taf, Nun, Yud, Aleph, are the 4 prefixes that we use to symbolize the future. But Tanya was preparing the world for the future. For Mashiach. It's the food, tasting the food that will be taught by Mashiach with much greater elaboration. There's a lot to talk about. There's a Sicha here that was learned every year. I don't know why it wants me to learn the same Sicha every year, but this is what this is the Sicha. I think Dusky wants me to teach this Sicha, okay? So it's a Sicha about, it's a powerful Sicha, don't forget, it's volume 30. There are 40 volumes on Putah Sicha. This is volume 30, the Bivrit. The Sicha was printed originally in Hebrew. And the Rebbe spoke the Sicha the night after the last day of Hanukkah in 1985. I remember when the Rebbe said the Sicha. I was there at the Pabrenga. Not that, what? Are you speaking English? So.
אדוני פרפר העולם. בשבילנו, כן. או העולם דיבור בכלל. מה היה במשיח?
גם בשבילנו בעיקר, אבל גם בשביל כל העולם. משיח יבוא גם, לא רק יהודים, גם הגויים יצטרפו לגילוי של המשיח. They're also going to come to flock and to want to be around when Mashiach gives his teaching.
אבל זה כמו הכנה בשבילנו.
Huh?
Tekma ka na?
Can't,
Mataya pa na.
can't. Okay. What are the two reasons why what was the reason why the Alter Rebbe revealed the secrets of Chassidus? The two opposite reasons, which will be discussed in the Sicha. One is because the world was in jeopardy. People were losing their faith, especially after all the horrific pogroms that preceded the Baal Shem Tov, Tach B'Tat, Chmielnicki, Machshmai, and then there was the false Messiah, the false Mashiach of Shabtai Tzvi, and the Jews felt uplifted, and boom, there was a crash, and the Jews were like in a state of shock and in a state of desperation and despondency. They were like giving up on their Yiddishkeit, losing their faith, all the tzaras. So the Baal Shem Tov started, and the Alter Rebbe continued this force of reviving the Jewish people, because the generations have decreased, have gone down, and we need a special boost. The second reason is to prepare for Mashiach. Mashiach will be teaching mainly not the Gemara, but the secrets of Chassidus, the secrets of the inner dimensions of Torah. In order for us to be able to relate to them, we have to learn about these things now. A foretaste, not the real thing, it's a foretaste. Being acquainted with certain concepts that we don't really understand that well, but we've heard them. Like a person who hears behind the door, you hear something, can't make out. I make out some words here and there. Then suddenly when it's told, that's what you meant when you said those words. So right now we talk about Atzilos and Bria and Atik and Arach and all these fancy terms, get a little understanding of it, droplets. But Mashiach will come, we'll go, that's what we were learning all about in the Mechon Liados. That's what Rabbi Greenberg meant. Now I understand. Whoa, why couldn't he tell me that? I was like half asleep because not half asleep, only in my class are half asleep. I was like, I was like, I was scratching my head. What does it really actually mean? Explain more. But if we don't learn about these things at all now, we're going to be like, what in the world is he talking about? So we need to taste, just like on Shabbos, you taste the food of Shabbos, Erev Shabbos. You don't eat too much because then you're not going to have any appetite. Taste a little bit, a little kugel here, a little, that's enough. Foretaste before Shabbos, likewise. Mashiach is coming is like Shabbos. And don't forget that Tanya ends with the discussion of Shabbos. Tanya ends with Shabbos. I want to also let you know, how many parakim are there in Tanya? How many chapters are there in the first part of Tanya?
53.
How many Fedras are there in Chumash? 53. Do you know that there are 11 Sedras out of the 53, 11 of them don't start with above. Almost every one of them starts with above. Rashis, Noach, do not start with above. And there's Pekut, at the end, the last of Shmos, the last of Vayikra, the last of Amidbar, if you want to count them, there are 11. How many Parakim in Tanya do not start with above? 11. If you want to look at the introduction of Tanya is counted as a Perik. That corresponds to Bereshis. What's discussed in Noach? The Mabul. Not the Jewish world. This is before the Jewish world came around. B'nai Noach. What's the discussion in the first chapter of Tanya? About the Nefesh HaBahamis, the animal soul. At the very end, it discusses the godly soul. But just Perik Beis corresponds to Lech Lecha. Where you have introduction is Bereshis. Chapter 1 is Noach. Chapter 2 discusses the second soul, Nefesh HaLakiz. What's Lech Lecha all about? Avram Avinu, the first Jew, Nefesh HaLakiz. If you go on, you'll be able to see there's a sefer that made a connection between every single chapter and every sedra. I'm not going to do that right now. It'll take me, but it's quite amazing. The Alter Rebbe made Tanya is called the Torah, the written Torah. Why? Not only because every single mimer is contained in Tanya, but also every letter. Unlike the Hasidic discourses, they were not so precise in the wording. They didn't want you to focus so much on the words they use, the choice of words, but rather the content, the message. Except for Tanya, where the Alter Rebbe was careful about every letter he wrote. He pondered 6 weeks whether to write the word with a vav or without a vav. It wouldn't change the meaning very much. Chapter 41 in Tanya. I don't know if you've gotten there yet. Never read Tanya? Okay, it's okay. It took me a while to read that chapter. 41. Reishes ha'avoda v'ikra v'sharsha. The middle word, v'ikra, beginning of one's service and its primary goal. Should I write the word and or not write the word and? The letter, rather. Should I write it with a vav or without a vav? Makes no difference, seemingly, for us little people. He pondered 6 weeks back and forth, and he finally decided to put the Vav there. So he spent 6 weeks. How long did it take him to write the Tanya? 20 years. 20 years. You know, the famous the dream of the Tzemach Tzedek. He dreamt he wanted to make the Tanya with vowels and sentences, periods. He had a dream. He saw a Sefer Torah with vowels in his dream. So he was about to, make print the Tanya with vowels. When he went into the Alter Rebbe for Yechidus, Alter Rebbe, not knowing his dream, he wasn't told the dream. Alter Rebbe said, "A Sefer Torah that has vowels is puzzle." He began to realize, my grandfather's responding to me, don't think of putting vowels in the Tanya, just like you don't put in the Sefer Torah. Okay. Here's the Sicha, but the obvious question that everyone has to ask. If you know this, you've heard, I'm sure you've heard, I know you've heard the story with the mushal with the prince that was sick. You know the whole story? All the details behind it?
No.
The Maggid. The Maggid was predecessor of the Alter Rebbe. He was before the Alter Rebbe. He was the Alter Rebbe's Rebbe. He was sleeping. When he woke up from sleep, he asked the Alter Rebbe, what was going on while I was asleep? He asked the Alter Rebbe and two other great Hasidim, Rabbi Zusha and Yehuda Leib Cohen, who gave their approbation, gave their approval, gave their haskamot for the Tanya later on, 2 years later. So the Maggid is asking the Alter Rebbe, this is the Maggid, this is 25 years before the Tanya was finished. This is early. This is before the Tanya was even started. Because the Maggid passed away 26 years before the miracle of Yitz Kislev. He also passed away on Yitz Kislev, by the way, the Maggid. So he fell asleep, and in his sleep he dreamt that there's an accusation against revealing too much Hasidus. And he wanted to know what was happening while he was asleep. So the Alter Rebbe says what would happen is that Pinchas Karatzer, a very famous Chassid, was very angry because he saw writings of the Maggid all over the street, stepped on, soiled, mistreated. Holy writings, holy gems of Chassidus of the Maggid were like stepped on. And he was very unhappy about that. And when a tzaddik is unhappy, it can cause an accusation up there. There was an accusation. Pinchas Karatzer was a tzaddik on his own right. He was a very powerful person. And the Alter Rebbe responded, or Pinchas Karatzer said the following. He thought he was very angry. He used the words of Lamentations. I see the holy stones of the Beis Hamikdash destroyed. Stones were also gems. Hasidus is compared to diamond, jewel, gems. And they're being mistreated. They're all over. People are not learning it, stepping over it. Now, the Rebbe responded with a famous mashal. But with a mashal, the king sends his son, to a faraway place for him to learn how to overcome challenges. And he hears not doing very well. He's very sick. And the doctors can't figure out how to his sickness is life-threatening. And they don't know how to cure the disease. Until someone discovers that there's a special stone that if you grind it into powder, it will save the life. You mix it with water or with wine, but they'll find a stone like that. And the long story, but making short, is they found that the only stone that has this potion is the stone wearing in the crown jewels of the king. Problem was that the prince got so sick he couldn't even open his mouth. The lips were tied, stuck together. They had no intravenous in those days. So how do you get the potion? How do you get this powder, water, this whole mixture into his mouth? 99% that nothing will get into his mouth. There's a 1% chance that a drop will get in. You'd think the king would say, if that's the case, forget about it. No, he said, destroy, grind the jewel, and even though there's a 1% chance his life will be saved, if one drop gets in, I don't care if most of it goes to waste. That's the mashal. When the Maggid heard that, he smiled. That saved my life. Your mashal just saved my life. And he was able to. Anyway, this is the story. When the Alter Rebbe was in prison, why was he in prison? Prosecution. You're revealing Hasidus. But wait a second. He himself was the one that upended the prosecution, the accusation against his predecessor with that mashal. Why was there another accusation against the Alter Rebbe when he was in prison? He had visitors, not regular visitors. He had the Maggid, where he passed away a long time ago, and the Baal Shem Tov. And they came in body. He said they were there physically in his cell next to him. They said the reason why you're here is because you're revealing Hasidus. The Alter Rebbe said, okay, should I stop? What was his answer? No. Continue. Now that you've started, do it with more. Why was there another accusation? He was the one that removed the accusation. How come he? Why was there a second accusation? That's the Rebbe's question here in the Sicha. So I'm not going to go through the whole Sicha because it'll take too long and it's already late. Thanks to my wasted time. Let's see the second page. It's in Hebrew. Kavar b'mei hamagi. You see the second page here? We'll turn it around. Page Kuf Chav Ches. You see the paragraph, second paragraph. Before the second paragraph, it says Kvar b'mei hamagid bitel admor hazakin hakitrug. Already in the days of the Magid, the Alter Rebbe vanquished, removed, nullified the prosecution against him. Why was there another accusation? The Alpizeh in Kvar b'mei hamagid bitel Rabbeinu hazakin es hakitrug al gili v'chasidis. If already in the time of the Magid, the Alter Rebbe himself nullified the accusations against the Alter Rebbe, and thus you have to understand that when the Goyim are able to put a tzaddik in prison, they have no power to do that because it's on high. There's an accusation against him. Therefore, it manifests down here that they find reasons down here to put him in prison. So the question is, but why? He already removed that kitrug. How? How so? All yedei through ha'asbara shepirsum ha'fatzat chasidut u'davar murchav v'yoser. That teaching Hasidus is a must. It's life-saving, spiritual life-saving. English of Pekuach Nefesh. Hanegel HaTolas, which is related to the salvation of the Jewish people. Salvation of the prince. We are all called the prince. We are all children of the Melech. Hashem. Al-Achas Kama V'Kama. Abbreviation. Ayin Aleph Chaf Vav Chaf. Al-Achas Kama V'Kama. Meaning, how much more so? When we have another generation, of our old Slav that we have one step in the descent of generations, meaning where people are further away from Yiddishkeit as you go 30 years later, from the Alter Rebbe's time, from the Magi to the Alter Rebbe. Umin Astam, if the generations go lower as time goes on, further away from Matan Torah, Umin Astam, most probably, Yorat Masavi Haruchni Shel Ben HaMelech. Probably the status, spiritual status of the prince, that refers to us, has gone down as well. We need more of that potion of Chassidus, and not less. Then how much more so that the spreading of the wellsprings of Chassidus, i.e., the grinding of the precious giant diamond, is the most important. It's an absolute must to save the life of the prince. What happened? What changed when the Alter Rebbe became a Rebbe that there was another accusation? To the extent that he was not sure whether he should continue teaching Hasidus. So the Nekuda, just in a nutshell, what was the answer? The answer is very simple. The Magid, when he was teaching Hasidus, it was not with very very short. They were just like, excerpts, just short, concise ideas that really were not clearly understood, but they appealed to your neshama. They warmed you. They made you feel, They appealed to your emunah. They appealed more to the abstract part of you and not to your intellect, your seichel. And very short, brief. Like the example, a drop of that potion got into the mouth of that prince. Droplets. Well, the Alter Rebbe started teaching a lot more than droplets, like his predecessor. He started teaching, elaborating, and trying to make Hasidus understandable. Oh, that's who gave you permission to do that? The Maggid only revealed Hasidus in drops. Tipa, like a tipa. The seminal drop. It was enough to help the Jewish people get back their emunah, to save their lives, to hold on for their dear lives, spiritual lives. But that's all. That's all you have the right to do. Who gave the Alter Rebbe the right to spread Hasidus in such a way where it became understandable? For that, we don't need that. You could save the life of the Jewish people just by appealing to their emunah. Why did it have to be understood so clearly? That's why there was a second prosecution. So the Rebbe says this corresponds to the two reasons why we learn Hasidus. If you're learning Hasidus to fight off the darkness that prevails around the world, then a drop is enough. You don't need all the elaborations, all the fancy terms, trying to explain the four worlds. You ever hear a mashal about Silas, Bria, Tzir, and Asir? There's a mashal Gashmi. Anyone know this mashal? There's a mashal to explain the four olamas in a very clear way, how to understand. No, not the one I know. The one I know is with procreation with the baby, conception of a baby. I'll discuss that in a second if we have time. So what about two reasons? One is to get rid of the dangers. The world is, very dark out there, extremely dark. It's so dark we don't even realize it's dark. And then sometimes we consider darkness to be light and light to be darkness. The truth is false, but false is true. It's so mixed up and goes. We need droplets of Hasidus, but we don't need Hasidus Chabad. Hasidus Chabad is where concepts of Hasidus are explained with a mashal, with analogies, and it's like fed in a way where your intellect can enjoy it. If the reason why we learn Hasidus is not because of the darkness, but because we have to prepare for the ultimate wedding, the wedding between the Jewish people and Hashem, which will be revealed when Mashiach comes. Before a wedding, you got to dress up. So a few hundred years before Mashiach comes, there had to be, get ready for the divine wedding, for the ultimate wedding between the Jewish people and Hashem. We have to start learning and wearing the jewels and the clothing. That's the teaching of Hasidus that are understood, because when Mashiach will come, it won't be just like droplets. Mashiach will be teaching Moshe Rabbeinu. Could you imagine? Pretty good class. Moshe, Aaron, all the Tanoim, all the Amoraim, the Rambam will be in that class. Rashi will be in that class. And we'll also be in that class. Imagine having a teacher teach Moshe Rabbeinu, who's been in heaven for 3,000 years, and every time he's there, and he was pretty great before he went to Shemayim. Moshe Rabbeinu had 3,334 aliyahs of his neshama, and yet Mashiach will offer Moshe to Moshe what Moshe himself does not know. You can imagine what kind of person this is, what kind of understanding. The non-Jewish world will also be like enjoying themselves. Every station will be the latest news, the teachings of the secrets of creation. So whether it's CNN, whether it's MSNBC, whether it's Fox News, they'll maybe change their names, but they're going to have different kinds of reports. The whole world will be flocking towards Mashiach and wanting to grab and being jealous. How come we're not Jewish? Conversion will not be accepted then. Too late, because now you're doing it just for. You have to really. Conversion has to come through self-sacrifice. When the Jews are not having a good time, and then Golos, then it's real. So if you're learning to prepare for the wedding, then you got to learn not just droplets, but who gave you the right to start preparing for Mashiach? Well, the answer was Alter Rebbe. Since you started and you had Mesiras Nefesh for this, you broke the barriers. Yes, now the world is ready to go. Now we're into the gravity of Mashiach. Now we're able to start the process of being ready for the ultimate wedding. We got to learn and get used to learning ideas and concepts that are in connection to Mashiach. And with this, the Rebbe answers a question. We're told in Gemara that a person should divide his day into three, mainly for men, not for women so much. Mikra, Mishnah, Gemara. 1/3 of a day, spend time on Chumash. Next third on Mishnayos. And the extra third on Gemara, Talmud, and all the whole library, which explains commentaries. Divide your day into three. What about Kabbalah and Chassidus? Where does that belong? Is Kabbalah and Chassidus, does that belong to Talmud? Does that belong to Mishnah or Mikra? Chumash, we know what that is. We know what Mishnah is. We know what Gemara is. What about Chassidus? So in one place, the Alter Rebbe says it belongs together with Talmud, because it's elaborate and it goes on to, it's deep, explains things. In another place, the Alter Rebbe says it belongs together with Chumash. Just like Chumash. You read last week's parsha at the end? Some names of Esau's family? Who cares? What are you telling me? He pastured certain donkeys in a certain area, and the sister of so-and-so was so-and-so. Falling asleep. I can translate it. I don't know what you're talking about. So the Rebbe says there are parts of Chassidus that are like droplets. We understand there's something there. Wow. Secret. It's so secretive, but we don't get it. So the Maggid's type of teaching, that's included in Chumash. But the Alter Rebbe and all the other Rebbeim, when they explain Chassidus, that part of Chassidus belongs to the Talmud era, to the level of Talmud, because it's elaborated with a lot of explanation. The Rebbe says at the end of the Sicha, I'm not going to learn the whole Sicha inside, the very end of the Sicha, the Rebbe says that now, that once it's revealed, every Jew has an obligation to learn every part of the Torah. You can't just suffice with learning certain parts. It's a must. And now, truth is that as generations go by, the closer you get to the wedding, the more we're obligated to fancy ourselves with all the deep concepts of Chassidus and not to feel, I don't need that. I need a perk. I just need a little boost. Yeah. So what's the mashal for the four elements? Anyone know the mashal? I'll tell you what the mashal is. There's a mother, a father. Okay. The mother is Malchus Atzilus. The mother is the source of creation. It's the world of godliness. There's nothing there yet. Then there's the moment of conception. The moment the mother becomes pregnant. She herself feels nothing. Arega shel plita. But the seminal drop of the father is conceived by the mother. There's a meeting of her egg and his seminal drop. She's pregnant now. It's not even embryonic. There's embryo and there's fetus, but before the embryonic stage, there's a name. I forget the name. Some of you might know the name. Huh? I can't hear you.
Zygote?
Yeah. Koyach. Koyach. Zygote. What changed in that rega? Everything changed. But nothing seems to have changed. That's the world of Bria. A created world, it's not a world, it's the potential for existence. That itself is a creation. God created the potential for our existence. Well, that itself is an existence. Prior to Bria, there was no potential. It didn't make any sense. It's like saying 2 and 2 is 5. Hashem made it possible for there to be creation. He created the potential. And once you create the potential, everything else will fall into picture. So Bria is like the baby when there's no embryo, zygote. Yetzirah is the world where there's not just the moment of conception. There is something inside the mother. There's the mother and there's a baby. But where is the baby living? Inside the mother. The baby can't live without the mother. So it's a world where godliness is very much felt to the extent like the baby feels its mother inside the mother's womb. The next world is compared to a baby who's just a newborn. The baby is always clicking to its mother, but the baby can live without the mother. There's already a level of independence, a world that is able to sense how it's, to some degree, independent of its creator. That's the spiritual world of Olam Hasiya. Then there's this world, where the baby grows up and doesn't even recognize his mother anymore. Has to be convinced that the mother is your mother and the father is your father. That's the world we're living in right now, where we are so far apart. We have doubts about whether God exists or whether this is true, that's true, because of the tzimtzum that became so powerful that we lose the connection of who we really are. So there's the mother before pregnancy, Atzilus. The moment of conception, called zygote, Bria. Yetzirah, formation of a child, a formation, there's a form, there's a whole body. There's different stages. There's first trimester, middle trimester, last trimester. These are all different levels of Olam HaYetzirah. Baby is born, Olam HaSiyah Haruchni. The baby is grown up, doesn't even know who its mother is. That's this world. Has to be proven. We have to learn about them and realize and remember this is your mother, this is your father. Just a mashal. I'm just giving one of the mashalim that are given for the Dalet Olamais. The truth is, if you go a little higher, Olam Atzilus is the lowest world because there's another 3 worlds above Atzilus. But that's not the formation of creation, it's the formation of God's attributes. How does Hashem have 10 attributes all of a sudden? He's one. Where did the 10 attributes, the 10 spheros come from? There's a whole devolution, I should say, not evolution, devolution of the spheros. So Hashem within himself has to go through stages for him to adapt to 10 spheros. And that itself goes through an Atzilus, Bri, Yitzir, and Asiyah, as discussed in Chassidus. Or it's okay to Matzimtzum. I know you don't know what I'm talking about, it's okay. It's okay to Matzimtzum, then there's Adam Kadmoin, then there is Akudim, and then there's Atzilus. So there's 4 worlds above. Atzilus is the lowest of the rung. And you learn these things. In Chassidus, one of our teacher I had was Rabbi Khan, was the greatest genius in Chassidus, passed away from several years ago. We didn't want to, when we were in his class, we put the clock, we kept it. And he was like in a different world. He kept asking, what time is it? And we told him it's, really? Okay, he believed us. And he went on for about 3 hours, explaining all the levels. He went from this world, he went all the way up to Erin Suf, and he went into Erin Suf, Kedem Atzimtzum, until we were like, wow, so clear. Then he said, I can't go any further, as far as I can go. Try more, as far as I can go. But for Frank went the whole night with us, discussing different levels, and it was so clear, it was incredibly clear, brilliant genius, this guy. In fact, the Rebbe, when he wrote the encyclopedia of Chabad Chassidus, the Rebbe looked at it, the Rebbe said, wow, I knew he can do good, I didn't know he can do this good. So Rabbi Khan, genius of Chassidus. And I had the chus of being in his class.
Wow.
I had a second teacher who was second to him. They were like 2 genius. In fact, the second one, okay, I understand. A second one who was I never see it. I had 2 teachers, they were both equal almost, Rabbi Khan and Rabbi Tzvibel, and these 2 were like, and Rabbi came to test our class. Who was the teacher? Number 2, Rabbi Tzvibel. And Rabbi Khan asks us a question, and we answered, and he said, where'd you get that from? He. Yeah, and they started arguing back and forth, and with like a ping pong, tennis. Boop, boop, that was the end of the whole test. They were arguing back and forth, and to see 2 people who both know what they're talking about, both have the entire Chabad library in their, and they're going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It was an incredible sight for us to see. Wow, we only wish we could be part of that conversation. They gave us a tremendous chayef and wanted to. Nothing like that. It's amazing. Anyways, have a wonderful day. Have a good yontif. And happy Hanukkah coming up soon. And Shabbos. And it's always a pleasure.
Rabbi Greenberg, Rabbi
No. That was Rabbi Lipsker. He was much easier. He was much older. Real Connors would be in the 90s today, close to 100. But he was incredible. He was a little bit absent-minded also.
Yeah.
He had head on backwards a lot of times, didn't understand what the problem, why people are laughing. It was very, very like different world.
Did your brother have a book on Hanukkah? Did your brother have a book on Hanukkah?
Yes.
How much did it cost?
I don't know if you find it in the stores.
You know where I signed it?
I'll try to get one for you.
Okay.
Try to get one for you.
יש לאח שלך ספרים?
Yeah, a lot. He has a whole library of his own for him. When he turned 70, he wrote 70 books.
איזה ספרים?
When I turned 70, I think I coughed 70 times. He was a brilliant brother.
Wow.
And I'm very proud of him. He got my father's brain. My father's brilliant genius also. That's it. Someone has to be like the mother. What?
ספרים של מה?
כל באנגלית, ספרים של לימוד של למדנות, של גם חסידות, כן, אבל הרבה, a lot of his books are on the Rambam, Gemara, Farshim, but a lot of it is in English. He has 3 books that he already came out with, but he has online 20 more books. On every parsha. Try to get every parsha, yes, every next to Mashiach. So I'm gonna see how you're excited about. I'm gonna get you one.
Thank
That excitement, I'm gonna get you one.
you so much.
I'll get you one.
If
So
any of you
excited, you're
can't,
showing excitement, your eyes are going.
my sister says my face can't hide anything.
That, you won me over.
Thank you so much.